I never meant to lie.
Yeah, but you did. About everything.
You laid hands upon the blood of the dragon. Aerion would like your head.
A trial of 7.
What the fuck is a trial of 7?
You must find 6 other knights to fight beside you.
You may be wise to run.
Want to kill me if I run?
Want to kill you anyway.
Who will stand and fight with me? Has courage deserted the noble houses of Westeros? And there are no true knights among you!
Welcome back, everyone. This will be my Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Episode 4 trailer video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs referencing foreshadowing here because we are past the halfway point in the season. Things have gotten real, and we are now at the full Trial of 7, which is like the big moment during this story that George R. R. Martin wrote. So everybody grab your swords. Sir Dunk needs 6 champions to fight with him. I will totally do it. Just don't ask for my papers to prove that I am a knight. I did not bring them with me. One of the other real big reminders, too, is that because the American Super Bowl is this Sunday, they're actually airing this episode early on Friday at the same time. So you'll just be able to watch the episode a couple days early. So do not forget, early episode coming this Friday. The episode is titled 7, which is a reference to the Trial of 7. As you see during this, there's a moment where Maekar goes, "What is the Trial of 7?" Because Aerion calls for the Trial of 7. A lot of people thought that was weird, like why does his father not know what the Trial of 7 is if he's been around for so long and he's so lauded, so learned? During the trailer, as you see, Dunk is arrested for striking the blood of the dragon. It is a crime to harm a royal prince, to strike one, punch, kick, anything. Normally, the punishment for that is they would cut off the piece of your body that you struck the blood of the dragon with, whether it be a prince or princess, a king, a queen, anybody. Technically, they would probably full-on just execute you right on the spot if you struck a king or a queen. But the whole idea is that after he does this at the puppet show to save Tanzell, they hold this little small council here to decide what to do with him. And Dunk's only option here, as he's talking to Baelor, is to choose trial by combat as a way out of his current predicament that won't cause him to lose an arm or a leg. All because if they did cut off his body parts, then he would not be able to be a knight, killing his dream of becoming a knight. That is the whole reason for him being here at the tournament in the first place. But the problem here is that during the actual trial, when he's sitting in front of these lords here, Aerion demands a trial of 7. The reason why he does that is because he doesn't think that Dunk will be able to find 6 other knights to fight with him, and he will just automatically lose. The other reason why Aerion calls for a trial of 7 is also because he's a coward, and there's no way that he'd be able to beat Dunk in a one-on-one fight, because Dunk literally just threw him around like a rag doll. It would happen again if they were to fight one-on-one in a traditional trial by combat.
And so, I ask you again, how good a knight are you?
The real reason why Aerion knows what the Trial of 7 is, but Maekar, his father, who's much more famous and has been in way more battles like the Blackfyre Rebellion, does not know, is mostly for the benefit of the audience and for Dunk within the context of the story, so that somebody at the trial here, Baelor, for example, has an excuse to explain how the Trial of 7 works for Dunk and for the general audience that hasn't read the books. So Maekar is dumb here about the Trial of 7, mostly for plot reasons. Trial of 7 is just a specialized form of trial by combat that a party can demand during trial, which Aerion does here. It is linked to the Faith of the Seven and the Andal tradition. Now, the whole idea of knights, the tradition of knighthood, was brought to the Seven Kingdoms by the Andal invasion in the first place. The Maesters actually recorded that there were no knights in Westeros before the Andal invasion, although there are tales about knights that go back to the Age of Heroes, so a lot of people think that the tales themselves are just tall tales that grow with the telling, which Baelor made a joke about earlier this season. Just the idea that people embellished the history of Westeros before the Andal invasion. So when you think about traditional knights in Westeros, that didn't really start till the Andal invasion. Trial by combat does go back further than that, though. So trial by combat has existed in Westeros much longer than knights in the Trial of 7 have existed in Westeros. During the Trial of 7, the Andals believed that if 7 champions fought on each side, the gods thus honored would be more likely to see justice done. But really, I think the excuse here is just the people wanted to see a 7 versus 7 match because it was way more exciting. Per the rules of Trial of 7, the accused, who's Dunk in this case, is declared innocent if the accuser or accusers, multiple, are either defeated or yield, thereby withdrawing their accusations. If the accused is slain, it is believed the gods have judged him guilty, and the trial of 7 ends. If the accused cannot find 6 men to stand with him, he is also declared guilty as well. So that's what Aerion is betting here, that he won't actually have to fight Dunk, because he doesn't think that Dunk will be able to find 6 other knights to fight with him. And in order to satisfy the rules, they have to be 6 knighted people with him. It can't just be any 6 regular people that Dunk happens to find on the side of the road. So remember the last couple of episodes how much trouble Dunk had in getting other knights, other lords' help in remembering Sir Arlen so that they would vouch for him and he could enter the actual tournament. He basically struck out with everybody at the tournament except for Baelor Targaryen, who did him a solid. But since then, think about all the different people that Dunk has run into, befriended, that are knights that could potentially help him. There have been a couple clues in the last couple of episodes who is going to be on his team of 7. There are even a couple moments during the trailer that give this away, so we'll talk about this as we go through shot by shot.
I will be your champion.
They start the trailer with Dunk in the cells right after they've arrested him and are holding him for trial, and Egg comes to see him. Notice that he has changed clothes because he's declared himself his true identity as a Targaryen, so his father Maekar has returned and is making him dress up in traditional Targaryen garb, which is why he's wearing the traditional black and red sash across his chest here. But as he tries to explain the situation to Dunk, he didn't mean to lie to him. He really does want to be his squire. He does want to be a knight someday, and he did want to stand apart from his family. He really does hate his brother Aerion, so he was trying to save Dunk's life. That was the only reason why he revealed himself, because he was willing to give up his dream, because he knew that if he revealed who he was, then Dunk probably wouldn't want to either be his friend and let him be his squire anymore. So it meant the end of his dream, and Egg was willing to sacrifice that if it meant saving Dunk's life, and that was the only way to save his life. So now we're just dealing with the aftermath, because you remember Dunk's reaction to the revelation. It's a complete betrayal on his part. Like, he opened himself up to this little kid and he lied to him flat out. So at least at the beginning of the episode, there's still a lot of hurt feelings from Dunk towards Egg, and Egg feels really bad about what happened. Now to explain how we wound up in this situation in the first place, like, why did Egg shave his head? Why did he sneak to the tournament? Why did he try to become Dunk's squire in the first place? Remember how Maekar said that his 2 sons were missing, Daeron the Drunken, who we saw at the inn, drunk, telling Dunk a very ominous future because Daeron has dragon dreams. A lot of people in this series telling both of them their futures. Egg's grandfather, Daeron II, who's the current sitting king in Westeros on the Iron Throne, bid his family to come to the tournament, including his sons Maekar and Baelor, and then their sons as well. As part of that, Maekar bade his son Daeron to actually compete in the list, to fight in the joust, and as part of that, Egg was supposed to be Daeron's squire, but Daeron did not want to fight in the tournament, so he got drunk at the inn on their way to the actual tournament. Egg got really pissed off because he does love tournaments. He's meant to be this big tournament nerd the way that Baelor is a big tournament stats nerd. Because Egg is so far down in the line of succession, there are so many Targaryens that exist right now in the succession, he doesn't have a lot of prospects for him later in life, so he really does want to become a knight someday. So suddenly along comes Dunk with his 3 horses at the time, and Egg sees it as an opportunity to actually go to the tournament and have some fun, and eventually become a knight. Like, as he starts to meet Dunk and learn about him, he sees that he's a good person, and he starts to like him, and they become friends, and he starts to think during episode 3, like when they're talking about their futures, do you think I could stay on as your squire after this is all over?
Does that mean I can stay in as your squire after the tournament?
But because Egg is still a little kid, at some point he was eventually going to have to reveal the truth to Dunk. Like, eventually Dunk was going to learn one way or another that he was a Targaryen. And part of the idea is that once that came out, his father, Maekar, probably might not let him be Dunk's squire because he is a royal prince of the realm. So at least right now, they want to make it feel like there's this big gap between the two of them, and they might not heal the wound until what happens with the Trial of 7 here. Also, the fact that Dunk might potentially die during the Trial of 7 here, which would also prevent Egg from being his squire after this as well. Egg then takes him to talk to Baelor, who explains his situation. You struck the blood of the dragon, Aerion, and he wants your head. Your only way out of this, basically Baelor explained to him that he needs to choose trial by combat. You also have to remember that Baelor seems very sympathetic to him in this moment because of the way that Baelor acted during the tournament in the previous day when Aerion killed that horse. He was really pissed off with it. Like, Baelor definitely does not like Aerion. But because Aerion is his family and he's a royal prince, like we're talking about the royal household here, there are very strict rules governing what Baelor is allowed to do. So even though Baelor is the hand of the king and the most powerful person in the realm next to the actual sitting king, his father Daeron II, he can't just wave his hand and make this all go away. Then the council that they drag Duncan in front of here are Baelor, Maekar, of course, Aerion, who's the accuser, Lord Ashford, and Leo Longhorn Tyrell, the man who said he had no idea who Sir Arlen the Pennytree was, even though he fought for him in previous battles. So part of the idea is they want to make it feel like the deck is stacked against Dunk here, like there's a bunch of people on this council that don't like Dunk for one reason or another, with the exception of Baelor. Like Baelor is meant to be like the one sympathetic person to him sitting on this council. Then it seems like right after this, they release him and he goes around the tourney just looking for different people. Like he's walking around in the rain, thinking about how he's going to find 6 other knights. And there are very few people that he's met at the tournament so far. So Egg, also, who wants to help him, helps him find the other 6 people. This is also one of Egg's superpowers because he's kind of a savant when it comes to sports stats in Westeros, tournament stats. He is like a knight savant. He knows everything about all the knights in Westeros. First, it seems like he goes to House Fossaway's tent to talk with Raymond Fossaway because he's like one of his only real actual friends that he's made here, genuine friends. And the other person that's sitting with them in the red here is his cousin Stefan Fossaway, who's currently the actual knight here because Raymond Fossaway is still just a squire. So at least at this moment, when he's talking about his prospects, like Raymond Fossaway's like, why don't you just run? And Dunk is basically trying to explain that is not an honorable thing to do. They'll kill me if I run, and it's a rotten thing to do anyway. He wants to be an honorable person like Brienne of Tarth.
Are you Baelor Targaryen?
Then the next morning, we see him in his armor that Stilly Pate has forged for him. It's done. He joins the tourney field here to address all the nobles and the knights at the tournament to try and find somebody to help fight on his team. And he's basically calling them all out. And there are a couple reasons why nobody wants to help him. Yes, it is a combination of them being cowards, like yes, they're all mostly cowards here, but also because joining Dunk means going directly against the Targaryen family because his accuser, Aerion, is a royal prince, and at the moment in Westeros, even though Targaryens aren't as feared as they once were when they still had dragons, the other houses, the lesser and the greater houses, are still a little scared, reticent of potentially pissing the Targaryens off and maybe starting another civil war of some kind so soon after the Blackfyre Rebellion and the Dance of the Dragons just absolutely wrecked the realm in a number of ways. Usually when wars happen, the small folk are hurt the most, but it also just completely wrecks all the houses, the economy, everybody, everything all over the place. It's bad for everybody in general. So the whole idea is that nobody wants to start another war. Then another real big moment here. This is Lionel Baratheon in his golden stag armor pulling his sword out on the tourney field, and this is Raymond Fossaway, and it looks like he's getting ready to knight Raymond Fossaway, because remember, the only thing that you need to make another knight is another knight, or a potential lord who is another knight, or the king himself. So part of the idea, you remember, Raymond Fossaway is Dunk's best friend next to Egg currently at the tournament here, and he wants to help him out, but because he's still a squire, at least at the beginning of their conversation just a little while ago the previous night, he can't actually fight on Dunk's team until Lionel Baratheon here whips his sword out on the tourney field and boom, makes him another knight. This will actually play into a larger sub-story within House Fossaway in the green and the red factions of their family. We'll talk about this during my full episode video, because if he's going to be knighting him during this episode, towards the end of the episode, then there's much more stuff that's going to happen before this too that we can't get into in this video. There are a lot of twists and turns within what seems like they're going to cover in episode 4, all over the fact of who winds up actually fighting on Dunk's team of 7. Then the reason why Steely Pate is standing here with Egg is because Steely Pate just gave him his new armor and he wants to see how it performs. Like, let's see how my armor does in actual battle. Also notice how Egg has removed the red banner across his chest here because he wants to stand with Dunk, so he doesn't want to wear Targaryen colors. Although technically he's wearing black and that's still kind of a Targaryen color. Basically, he's just trying to show to everyone at the tournament here that he is standing with Dunk, not with his family. Because at least at the moment, it's the Targaryens versus Dunk. That's what it looks like to everybody else at the tournament here. This is also meant to be the culmination of Daeron the Drunken's dream, the dragon dream, that he told Dunk in the tavern during episode 1. I saw you being crushed by a dragon. The idea is that Aerion was the dragon in the dream, the metaphorical dragon. This is also why George R. R. Martin wrote that line for episode 3 where Aerion is telling Humphrey Harding it's time for you to face the dragon. Also because Aerion is so crazy that he thinks himself an actual dragon, like he refers to himself that way.
It's time you face the dragon.
So when we're thinking about who's going to be on Dunk's team here, think about his closest friends at the tournament or people that you can think of as his friends that he's made the past couple of episodes. First, obviously, is Steffon Fossaway, then Raymond Fossaway here, like after Lionel Baratheon knights Raymond Fossaway, qualifying him to be on Dunk's team. Then you also have Lionel Baratheon, who he made friends with the first couple of episodes, who has shown himself Dunk's actual friend, but also, think about it this way, Lionel Baratheon is like one of the next most powerful lords in the realm next to the Targaryen family themselves, and doesn't necessarily hate the Targaryens, but believes they need to be taken down a peg, and he also relishes the opportunity, loves the opportunity to humiliate the Targaryen family in front of the entire realm here. So the whole idea is that Lionel Baratheon is also slam dunk to be on Dunk's team. Make as many Dunk puns as possible here. Then remember what we saw during episode 3. There was this big moment with Robin Riesling, another knight who Egg said was just absolutely crazy out of his mind and loved to fight and would be impressed by Dunk when he saw him. Then there's Humphrey Harding, who Aerion just killed his horse in the joust the previous day in the most dishonorable possible way and hurt his leg, so Humphrey Harding really wants to get revenge against Aerion for what he did. This trial of 7 is the perfect opportunity to do that. But that only makes 6 potential people. Dunk still needs 1 more knight to fight on his side. So without getting into spoilers, that 7th final person will probably reveal themselves at the end of episode 4, and that's like the big WTF cliffhanger reveal in episode 5 is meant to be the actual trial by 7 for most of the episode, then the actual finale, episode 6, like traditional Game of Thrones season pacing, the final episode is just the aftermath of the big WTF battle episode. Where in this case, they'll set up future seasons of the show and what Dunk and Egg do next during Season 2, and Season 2 is scheduled to come out next year. It's a bit of a monkey's paw situation with the yearly seasons from Night of the Seven Kingdoms, like yay, we're finally back to Game of Thrones every single year, a series that can get episodes out every single year, except they're only 6 episodes long and they're only 30 minutes long. That is the monkey's paw side of this. Now you gotta do, HBO, is just make that 10 episodes per season and then release it yearly. Why don't we start getting back to that place? Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and the really big reminder is that episode 4 is going to release early at midnight on Friday, so my video will post for that on Friday morning. Thank you to whoever at HBO decided to do this. Always love to get early episodes. But there's a bunch of stuff going on during this, so if you spotted any other Easter eggs or references that I didn't talk about during the video, any predictions that you want to make, post them in the comments below. Everybody click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other Night of the Seven Kingdoms episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.